What is our realm but a cracked mirror? A filthy window that shows a broken reflection of the glory that lies beyond our sight. What tawdry hovels are these? Towers of silver and gold they would be in the Empyrean's gaze? Or fish, or flowers, or a seraglio of silken lovers? Every color, every sense, every action, every reaction, every infraction is reflected and magnified 1,000 times. Gods and heroes dwell in that invisible realm in castles of cloud and grandeur, transcendent beings of wisdom and power beyond our comprehension. We who toil the dross of mortal existence can never know the ultimate blessings of uncertainty, but we can embrace the path of change. The hidden glories of the immaterium lie all about us, waiting for us to notice and claim them as our birthright. Demagogue Centrius in his epistles to the Gaudians. Every book, movie, or show has a bad guy. Sometimes the bad guy isn't really bad at all, but there are media where the villain is as bad as the devil himself. In games, both computer-generated and on the tabletop, there are bad guys too, and there are times when the so-called villain is no worse than the designated heroes of the game. In all my years of playing both computer and console games and tabletop games, there's definitely some appeal in playing a villain, or at least the opposing faction or individual. When asked, some of the players say that the appeal of being the bad guy revolves around the freedom of being evil, of being able to do what you want without consequence. Others, however, will state that it's all a matter of perspective and that the bad guy have as much claim to being good as the heroes, as a conquering emperor might just want to bring peace to the world to an iron fist. Whatever the case, there's always a demand for playing the villains or the villainous faction, be it a tabletop role-playing game or a computer game. Before everything else though, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit that bell for notifications to watch my latest content that often involves around tabletop role-playing madness. Hi, hello, and welcome again to another episode of Natural Yoann. This time around we're going to delve into Warhammer 40,000 Black Crusade, the fourth game line of the Warhammer 40,000 roleplay game lines. In our previous videos about Warhammer 40,000 roleplay, we explored the first three game lines of the franchise, and now each one showcases an aspect of the galaxy at large. In Warhammer 40,000 Dark Heresy, we got a look at the daily oppressive lives of citizens of the Imperium of Man, and how they must struggle just to survive alongside trying to foil plots and mysteries arrayed against them by evil forces. In Warhammer 40,000 Rogue Trader, we found out the great challenges faced by the eponymous Rogue Traders as they adventure and bumble across the largely unexplored Coronis expanse as they search for riches, treasures, thrills, and enemies to fight. Then, in Warhammer 40,000 Deathwatch, we finally got a look into what it means to be one of the Imperium's Adeptus Astartes, or Space Marines, and what it means to be a hero of humanity. Now though, we're going to take a closer look into the Forces of Chaos, one of the major villains of the Warhammer 40,000 franchise. So, take a deep breath, close your eyes, and kiss everything you knew and loved goodbye as we dive into Warhammer 40,000 Black Crusade. Like the other game lines of Warhammer 40,000 roleplay, Black Crusade makes use of many of the same materials and rules found in all the other game lines. This includes having the core rulebook at a minimum, pieces of paper and pencils or pens to record the events of your adventures, 2 10-sided dice per player, and your imagination and math skills. Warhammer 40,000 Black Crusade also makes use of the percentile dice system used by the other game lines, wherein you must use the 2 10-sided dice to generate a number from 00, which counts as 100, to 99 and compare it to an existing value. For instance, rolling 9 and 3 counts as 93, and 1 and 4 is a 14. This is then compared to a given number to determine whether or not you have succeeded in a task, wherein rolling a number equal to or lower than the target number is a success, while anything higher is considered a failure. For example, should your target be 40, if you roll a 35, you succeed, but a 52 would be a failure. This also incorporates the degree of success mechanic, wherein rolling a number 10 times higher or lower grants additional effects. An example of this would be, using the number 50 as a target value, rolling an 18 would net you 3 degrees of success, as there is 30 between 50 and 30, and 73 is 2 degrees of failure, as there is 20 between 50 and 73. Now, before we continue, I think I first need to introduce you at least a little bit into the powers of chaos to give context. Now, while there is no doubt that the Chaos Gods, Dark Gods, or Ruinous Powers are the villains of the whole franchise, they're surprisingly more complicated than a simple card-carrying villain. To wit, the Chaos Gods are simply the embodiment of various emotions taken to the extreme. Khorne is the embodiment of rage and anger. Tzeentch is the god of ambition and hope. Nurgle represents despair and acceptance, and Slaanesh is the goddess of lust and love. Now, what makes them complicated is that they have positive or at least relatable aspects as well. I mean, we all feel angry, hopeful, accepting, and passionate at times, and that doesn't make us villains no more than the next guy, but what you have to understand is that the Chaos Gods always take it to the extreme. You can't be angry at everyone all the time or you might murder someone. You can't let your ambitions get the better of you, as you'll end up hurting others along the way. Accepting things for what they are is good, but you should at least put some effort into bettering yourself. Finally, it's okay to feel romantic love, but you must be responsible as well for both yourself and the person you're in love with. The list goes on. But for the Chaos Gods, there is no such thing as too much. And you are encouraged to hate everyone by Khorne, scheme constantly against others by Tzeentch, give in to despair by Nurgle, or spend every waking hour thinking perverse thoughts by Slaanesh. And they're just the 4 major gods of chaos. There's actually a lot more of them, including Malice, who's supposed to be a representation of envy and corrupted justice. Now, to continue with the game proper, you begin by creating a character. To do this, you must first generate your character's characteristics, which are very similar to the characteristics found in the other game lines, which include weapon skill, ballistic skill, strength, toughness, agility, perception, intelligence, willpower, and fellowship. The only exception to this is the presence of infamy, a characteristic that represents the character's standing with the Chaos Gods, and whether or not he's in any kind of position to ask or demand a favor from them. That said, just about any favor the Ruinous Powers grant to a follower comes with a catch, and is almost always dangerous in the extreme. After that's done, it's time to choose what your character will be. There are 2 races found in the game, and these are Chaos Space Marines and Ordinary Humans, or Disciples of Chaos. Chaos Space Marines are almost identical to that of Space Marines found in Deathwatch, save for the fact that they serve the Chaos Gods instead of the Emperor of Mankind, and have a mechanical disadvantage in the game wherein they tend to have less initiative than that of their more mundane counterparts. This is likely done more for balance reasons than any considerations for the lore, as the Disciples of Chaos are all too often at a disadvantage compared to the Chaos Space Marines when it comes to combat. Then, there are the career paths, which are similar to the classes found in other tabletop RPGs, and include everything from the inspiring champions, the magical sorcerers, to the heretics, who are gifted when it comes to using machines and other technological devices. Warhammer 40,000 Black Crusade takes place in the Screaming Vortex, a vast span of space that is partially consumed by the warp, the setting's version of hell. This means that this place is almost regularly invaded by demons and is constantly locked in conflict, misery, excess, and tragedy. If you thought people had it bad in the Calixis sector, well, it doesn't hold a candle to the horrors that can be found in the Screaming Vortex. That said, since the Screaming Vortex is quite far from the Eye of Terror, the actual base of the forces of chaos, much can be had here for the courageous and adventurous. In fact, for those who find the will to make a name for themselves in the Screaming Vortex, the rewards are abundant, much like those found in the Corollas Expanse. Anyway, that's it for this episode of Natural Juan. If you enjoyed my content, don't forget to like and share it with your friends. Again, this is Natural Juan, bidding you all have a good one and see you in the next video.